Ready? How do you feel?
All right, good.
You nice and loose? We're just talking. Probably stand over here.
Okay.
All right.
This is like 2 ferns, but it's 2 ponderosa pines.
Just leave. Name? What is your occupation? Where do you work? Where do you live? Yeah.
Let's go, Alex!
All right, do your thing.
All right.
Introduce yourself the way you wanted to be introduced.
I don't like that. I don't like that. All right. My name is Brian Brock. I'm from Wichita, Kansas. I started doing tree work in 2005. Went to competitions in 2007 for the Midwest ISA. And 10 years after that, my friend Chris Coates and I decided to build this Naome. We had the first one that was officially named Naome in Wichita, Kansas, in Oak Park, and a bunch of really majestic bur oaks. Some wild way I won 5 minutes out my back door. Beat a bunch of internationals, beat some really big heavy hitters that I didn't even know that I was capable of beating. It was a stepping stone for me to realize that I was capable of beating anyone. For that I won a lot of competition. Won Midwest the following year, national in 2018 in Louisville. Did okay for my first one. I definitely turned some heads, but I usually do it in ways that don't score points. This competition in particular is aimed more about climbing the tree, showing that you're capable of moving through a tree with grace, efficiency, and respect.
So if there's any one thing you'd like to see change,
It comes down to me is shortcuts, and all these companies that sell gear try to sell shortcuts.
Yeah.
And the shortcuts come down to not tying. Are you on it?
Look that way.
The climb maybe this way or this way. So what it comes down to me when it comes to the way our industry is headed, it has to do with how all the companies that sell gear want to sell shortcuts, because that's novel. If you can sell something that makes you more productive instead of building something that makes you more productive, like building your base knots, the way that you tie knots, the way that you interact with the tree, those shortcuts are only earned if you're coming in raw and you don't have a way to back up those shortcuts with a foundation. Those shortcuts are going to be short-lived. They're not going to accomplish what they need to, which is to increase efficiency and effectiveness. They're going to decrease it, because in the future, when that's not available, that's the only way they know how to apply whatever it is. They don't know how to tie a knot, is what it comes down to. This is what I would change about the industry. There is a specific amount of knots that you should know how to tie with your eyes closed, with one hand, 2 hands, your left hand with your right hand. And if you don't know those, then you have no business applying anything to a tree. But what it comes down to is the willingness to climb a tree. So if you have the willingness to get up there and be a freaking cowboy or a pirate or whatever you want to call it, arbornaut, there's all kinds of good names for us. And we're explorers. We go to spaces that are unexplored, that have never been touched, space that's raw. So when you go into a tree canopy, you're, especially one that's never been pruned or one that's been pruned by somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, you're entering a space that is unexplored. When the settlers came here to North America and they all went west, that space for them was unexplored. Even if it's not for you or not for, the Native Americans were here a long time before that, so they had already explored that space. But it's still new for you, unless you've been there before. And that's another fun thing about, climbing trees and going to competitions. Eventually, if you go to enough of them, you get in the same trees and you learn the history of the trees and what's happened there, how we've changed the environment around it by our attitudes. Jim said it really fucking elegantly last night. He said, y'all are bringing a energy and a vibe to this place that is
great energy here,
but very much appreciated. It made me happy right then. He knew that we were very respectful, and that's what we want to come across as, is something that's so respectful that people are blown away. We want to blow people away with how respectful we are. They're getting better and better each time. My service is now this side of it. I mean, I can compete in them, and I can compete enough to be in the Masters and win. I need to. I want to get like a real good one. It is, Dustin.
It is incredible. What a talent, dude.
Oh, it's It's quite the challenge. Pulling your tail through even though you know your rope's long enough. I mean, 200 is the most I ever rock. I'll tie ropes together if I need to, but that 200 is about a good one for like a big climb. My favorite places are obviously where I live. The oaks there are spready, kind of like Florida. With the live oaks, how they start to grow out and around themselves and like twist and turn.
I don't know what I'm doing, man. I gotta fake it till I make it, you know?
Yeah, do it.
When you were new to arboriculture or climbing, is there any one piece of advice that you could go back in time and you could tell yourself?
Travel more.
Travel more?
Yeah. I mean, too long to get out and see other dudes that I knew could push me.
So you'd say you got better when you started traveling and seeing more arborists?
Yeah. Just because you get stuck in a yes box. Because people give you money to do sketchy shit. And the more and more you do it, and the more people give you money, the more and more you think you're the best around. You go see something better than you. It may not even exist around you.
It's humbling, dude. These are the other questions people wanted me to ask you. Can you tell me what the girthquake is?
I can. There's a couple different kinds of girthquakes, but the most devastating one comes from a region in Central America, I think. Maybe South America. So what happens is typhoons hit land, and they disturb the land, or I don't even know how it happens, really. I'm not a scientist, but essentially there's these kind of like earthquakes, but it's a girthquake. I don't even know how to explain it. Just a shocking thing that happens when you're involved in a girthquake.
It's a geological event is what it sounds like.
At some level, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
The ground shakes.
Well, it sounds like we got the bottom of that.
No, I don't know. It's just the top, I think.
Oh yeah, just off the top. How'd you get that rope up there?
Yeah,
You want to talk about that a little bit?
yeah, it's always a mystery.
Yeah, man.
It just happens so fast. It's like the song from Grease. It happened so fast I can't remember the song part.
Let's watch Brian do his thing.